Hey y'all, it's Jon Ray. Today I'm doing a mystical interpretation of Genesis 1:24 through 31. This is the sixth day of creation when humanity is formed in the image of God. If you've been following this series, you know that this story in the Bible isn't just about ancient history. It's about you right now becoming the version of yourself that can hold the power you were born with. Up until now, we've been laying the foundation in past videos and passages where you've awakened to your creative power, you've created inner space, you've seen signs, and you've started to feel momentum. But now comes the part where you say, I am made in the image of creative intelligence. I'm the one who shapes this life. And Neville Goddard said, your imagination is God, where Federico Fagan says that consciousness produces meaning. And with that meaning comes the power to direct the world that flows from you. And this is the day that you stop waiting for permission, the sixth day. So let's break it down and go into the scriptures. So Genesis 1:24 reads, God said, let the earth produce living creatures after their kind, livestock, creeping things, and animals of the earth after their kind. And it was so. So this is the final clearing of your foundation, of you really having that solid structure to push off from. And the earth here is your identity. It's your assumed self-image, who you know yourself to be. And now, because you've been living from the end, because you've assumed that your desire is already here, because you know that God's hand is moving in your favor, that identity is now producing results. And this is after its kind. You've assumed the feeling, and so now you're starting to see evidence of that around you. You've probably seen this in your own life. You know, when you believe you're powerful, when you hold space for that power, when you allow inspiration to flow through you, that's when ideas come. But when you feel unworthy, opportunities start to stall. And when you step into ownership, life starts to move fast. And this verse is saying, whatever you've accepted as true about yourself, that's going to be reproducing in your world. So if you want to change your results, you've got to actually go deeper than just setting goals. You have to shift who you believe you actually are. So in Genesis 1:25, it says, God made the animals of the earth after their kind, and the livestock after their kind, and everything that creeps on the ground after its kind. God saw that it was good. So this is a pattern confirmation. Everything is showing up based on your current state of being, who you know yourself to be. And this is where you stop wondering why things are in the way and just start getting curious about what's happening inside of you. You know, in past videos, we've talked about how hovering over the deep is you getting into somatic awareness of what's happening inside your body. Because the second that you assume a future state and begin to live from the desire as if it's already here, knowing that God has already delivered it, the first manifestation is going to be that all the fear, worry, anxiety, unknowns are going to show up as emotional information in your body. And you have to move into a higher consciousness state where you can perceive all of that turmoil in your body without making it mean something about who you are. You continue to cling to the higher consciousness awareness of what God has called you to be, while allowing that emotional energy to transmute itself. And you do that just by noticing it and letting it move wherever it wants. You notice it, you feel your big feelings until they transmute back into creative potential. And then you start to have these recognitions. You know, have you ever noticed when you're operating from fear or control that your external world kind of starts to reflect it back? You start to pick out all of these other things that you should be worried about. People cancel on you, money dries up, your clients flake. You know, when you're in flow, though, when you're living from that place of love, loving the I am, loving the mirror of reality, loving God, loving the larger consciousness system and your ability to provide value to it. When you're living in that kind of faith, things start to line up. You meet people that you could never have planned to meet. Doors open, and that's this verse. That's the sixth day. What your being becomes. And God saw that it was good. Remember, we want to always be appreciating and acknowledging the little manifestations, the little wins that we have, so that we can amplify our confirmation and our belief that larger and larger things are appearing for us. And now it's your turn to see your world, not with judgment, but you start seeing it with insight at this point. Genesis 1:26 says, God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the sky, over the livestock, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. And this is the big one. Let us make man in our image. You are made in the image of I am, and you were given dominion, not over other people, not over nature in some kind of egoic way, but over your internal ecosystem, your thoughts, your assumptions, your reactions, your creations, your imagination. Neville Goddard, the mystic who inspired this series, said that you are the operant power. No one else is going to imagine for you. No one else is going to hold your state of consciousness when life gets uncomfortable. And this verse is saying, you've been made in the image of creative intelligence itself. Now act like it. So this is the verse where we stop being students of the idea, stop being students of intellectually being like, oh, maybe I can create my own reality. And we start to actually become the embodiment of that. Genesis 1:27 says, God created man in his own image. In God's image, he created him. Male and female, he created them. And this is the harmony of duality within you. Male and female equals your free will and your imagination, giving and receiving, night and day, action and receptivity. And all of that lives inside of you. And this verse is saying you're whole. You have what it takes. The balance is already within you. And you don't need to get ready to create. You're already equipped with everything you need. Genesis 1:28 says, God blessed them. God said to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion. And this is your mandate from God, from the larger consciousness system. You're here to bring what you've imagined into the world, to multiply your inner vision in external form. And as Tom Campbell would say, to reduce entropy, to reduce chaos, and to learn to grow in love and the co-creative ability of exhibiting love at the highest levels. You know, if we were going to look at this in business terms, this is when you launch your product. This is when your personal brand, your idea, your offer goes public. And it's launching something not just for attention, but because you're here to fill the world with what you've assumed. This is the value that you're bringing to the world. And subdue in this passage equals stabilize. You're no longer shaken by every wave of doubt that comes by, because remember, you're the I am now. You're identifying as the I am. You're borrowing the awareness and the eyes of God. And so you can see any emotional turmoil for what it is, just energy passing through. And you walk as the authority of your inner world. You're no longer just living from your nervous system. You're living from your divine image, because you have hovered over the waters and become the observer of the transmutational process that's happening inside of you. This is when you become a spiritual alchemist. Genesis 1:29 through 30 says, God said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed. To you, it will be for food. Everything you need is already inside of you or available to you. And once you step into the identity of the one who has it, once you know yourself to be the thing that you've created, once you know that God's hand has already moved in your favor, the seed is always included in the vision. Abraham Hicks used to say, if you have a desire for something, the energy to fulfill that is packed into the desire. That's what this is talking about. A desire is a seed, and a seed must grow into what it was assumed to be. And so you don't need to worry about how the seed is going to grow. God does that. Reality does that. The rule set of the virtual simulation does that. All you have to do is stay in alignment with who you've become, who you know yourself to be, who God knows you to be. And this is the ecosystem of manifestation. When you stabilize your state of consciousness, the next steps will feed you. What happens next is feeding you. And you get what you need to grow just in time, in perfect timing always. Genesis 1:31 says, God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. There was evening and there was morning, and this was the sixth day. So look at your life, not from a place of criticism or cynicism, but from conscious ownership. That's what the Bible is teaching you. It's showcasing that you have co-creative ability with God, with the I Am, with the larger consciousness system, with the quantum field. You've created, you've shifted, and you've planted when you claim that place of conscious ownership. And now it's your mandate to call it very good. And this is worship. This is not a religious thing where you show up and you sing praise songs, but it's a deeper, mystical version of worship where you honor the Creator by becoming the Creator, by being in partnership with the Creator, by calling the Creator into your life via I am wealthy, I am worthy, I am knowing. And yes, it's still evening first. You live in the unseen before it appears in the seen. But now you're on the sixth day. You know how it works. And we'll get into the seventh day in the next video. But for now, let's anchor this in with a prayer practice. We'll call it embody the image. So this practice is about stepping fully into your role as a creator. So close your eyes, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what have I been assuming about myself? What would it feel like to be made in the image of I am? And what does that mean? I am. God is the I am. God is the mirror. God reflects to you whatever you are in your heart. Now declare, I am the one who creates. I carry the pattern of divine intelligence. I assume what I desire, and I walk as though it's already mine. Feel the authority in that, not from ego, but from alignment. This is a heart alignment, not a mind alignment. And that's the sixth day. You're no longer imagining from the outside. You're becoming the image itself. You're becoming the person that you were designed to be. And in our next video, we're going to explore the seventh day, the rest day, and not just rest in the physical sense, but the deepest mystical concept of all, living in the Sabbath state where nothing is missing and all is already done. To get an email when the next video is released or to request a Bible verse interpretation, go to BibleMystic.com. If you've ever struggled to believe that you actually carry the pattern of creation inside you, like, comment, and subscribe. We have to band together in community on this because that doubt is always going to naturally come in. But when we claim the covenant, God will put on our heart through the Holy Spirit that we are co-creators of this world. Share down in the comments, what would change if you fully believed you were made in the image of I am? We'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.